Hello and welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Patreon-sponsored review time again, and let's talk about my history with video games for a second. So I do not really call myself a gamer. My taste in games is eclectic and kind of limited. These days, most of what I play is casual puzzle stuff. Picross, mobile games. Sure, I'm a massive Pokemon fan, the main series anyway, and you can see me playing the vidya games every weekend for streams, but there is so much I have never played. A lot of games I end up checking out because I see other people play them and want to give them a try, but I don't buy a lot. And I also grew up a PC gamer for the most part, so console stuff is especially limited. Like, the earliest console my family owned was a Sega Genesis. If you count computers, the Commodore 64 was my earliest one, and even then I only played 2 games on it, Galcon and some monster game I can't remember the name of. And when we did have consoles, I didn't really have a lot of money for games. We rented from Blockbuster and Hollywood Video most of the time. My lineage of consoles when I was young was Genesis, Nintendo 64, and GameCube. No, we never had a Wii. I thought motion controls were stupid, and my parents were even less into video games than me. Sure, as an adult, I've had more consoles. Fans have sent me stuff. I play the Switch. With the help of a friend, I got a Wii U and a PlayStation 3 from Dave & Buster's. And the PlayStation 3 existed as my Blu-ray player. That was it. And I barely used it for that even. Okay, I did play Silent Hill Downpour on it. A friend gifted me an Xbox One as a moving present, which I have used more frequently, but not that much, frankly. Like, nowadays, I use it to test the DVDs I sell to make sure that they'll work. Handhelds I definitely had more attachment to because of Pokemon, but again, not using it for much else. The point I'm trying to make with all of this is that while I am perfectly aware of most major franchises, because well, I am a geek and I have tons of friends who play and stream and review video games. Most series I have never touched unless you count Smash Brothers. Like, my only Legend of Zelda game I've ever played is Link's Awakening, which we did on stream years ago. Hell, most of the major stuff I've only touched because I had the excuse of live streaming it. So yeah, my history with video games is much more eclectic and much more leaning towards PC stuff. As a result, I have never played any Metal Gear game. Once again, I know plenty about the series. I watched Team 4-Star's playthrough of every game through about the 4th one, I believe. Pop culture is rife with memes and jokes that people are sick of that I will abuse to hell in this episode, but never actually played any of them. So with that out of the way, I give you all that info to remind you, please be a little forgiving in the comments today. I'm doing a review of the original Metal Gear Solid, and I have never played it, so I do not know the most optimal method of going through it. I don't really know any secrets or unlockables or speedrunner strats. I am not a professional gamer TM, and if you've watched my streams, you know that my experience with stealth games has left room for improvement. Stop being infected! Oh, Batman!
Maybe hold up a while for a little while.
Nice!
Oh, that's discreet.
I'm very discreet! Stealth mission! In addition, I am primarily a narrative reviewer. I critique story above all else, so I might have complaints about game mechanics or controls that everyone else scoffs at, or I might ignore something that bothers you about the game that I never touch on because it's not what I'm focused on. And if you're curious about version, because of course with a critically acclaimed, genre-defining, direction-setting game like this, it has been re-released several times, I am playing the version that can be bought on GOG, which is the PC port from the year 2000 of Metal Gear Solid Integral. Why that one? It was on sale. So let's dig into Metal Gear Solid and see how this holds up for someone who has never played a single game in this series.
Welcome to Atop the Fourth Wall, where bad comics burn. Linkara's gonna teach you all a lesson you won't learn. What's with these awkward subjects? What's all this art so rubbish? To anyone who's had a bad comic published, it could be your turn.
Metal Gear Solid is like the third or fourth game in the franchise, so I feel like we need a quick sum up of the previous games for the Japanese-only MSX computers. A Spec Ops group called Foxhound learns that one of its agents, Gray Fox, is missing while he was investigating a mercenary group inside a facility called Outer Heaven. A new recruit under the codename Solid Snake is sent to infiltrate the facility, and he learns that the mercenaries have developed a powerful mech suit called Metal Gear, which is equipped with nuclear weapons. However, he eventually discovers that the mercenaries are really being led by the leader of Foxhound, known as Big Boss. I love how the agents of Foxhound have all these cool animal-based code names, but then this dude shows up and is like, yeah, look, I'm not really into animals, I'm more an executive type, just call me Big Boss. Snake is able to defeat Big Boss and destroy Metal Gear, leading us into the sequel. Well, one of them. There's an unofficial sequel, Snake's Revenge, that Nintendo made without the involvement of series creator Hideo Kojima, where it turns out Big Boss is alive and has founded the nation of Zanzibar Land, which just sounds like a theme park based around the islands of Zanzibar. And hey, feels like a bit of a niche subject for that, but might be fun to try the roller coasters. There, Big Boss is developing Metal Gear D. Already used up my allowance of D's nuts joke in the last episode, sorry. And Snake is sent out to defeat him, discovering that the thing is even being piloted by Gray Fox. Once again, Snake is victorious, and apparently the story took place on Christmas Eve, which means we can now say that Metal Gear 2 is a Christmas game. The series timeline is a bit all over the place, with Metal Gear Solids 3 and 5 taking place before the MSX games, which is kind of hilarious given how, you know, more simplistic the dialogue is for an older console and all compared to the hours of cutscenes present in those games. Rest assured, we have plenty of cutscenes ahead in this game, though, and we get one as soon as it boots up. On Shadow Moses Island, Alaska, a nuclear weapons disposal facility has been captured by terrorists, with members of Foxhound leading the operation. They're demanding the remains of Big Boss be given to them within 24 hours. If the government refuses, they're threatening to launch a nuclear weapon. Solid Snake, who had been in retirement for several years, and now fully voice-acted by David Hayter, is being sent in to infiltrate Shadow Moses, determine if the terrorists are capable of firing a nuke, and to rescue 2 hostages in particular. The chief of DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, which is a government agency intended to research new technologies for the military, and the CEO of ArmsTech, a weapons manufacturer who was visiting the facility at the time. I've dropped a bunch of names on you already, and there will be more soon, oh believe me, so we'll skip the names of the Foxhound members until we get to them. We're playing on normal difficulty, and we start things off with Snake arriving at some kind of cave-based dock for the facility. A common aspect of the Metal Gear games is the codec sequence. We have a little transmitter that allows us to contact our mission leader and various other people who can provide intelligence information for us. Our leader this time is Colonel Roy Campbell, voiced by prolific voice actor Paul Aiding.
When you want to use the codec, push the select button.
Tried to get my grandson Ben to install a select button on the Omnitrix, but no. Always weird when in-game a character describes an out-of-universe button control scheme. Like, is there a select button for the implant in his head that allows him to communicate with the team that he needs to kind of tap at a certain spot? Also, yeah, select button. Naturally, this being a PC port, none of the cutscene audio is changed from the original console release, though occasionally the subtitles will say a generic thing like action button or the like. Speaking of, as I'm playing this on PC, I'm using the default controls it comes with. They're honestly fine, a gripe here or there that I'll talk about later, but it is admittedly weird going back to arrow keys after getting used to WASD for so long. I mean, I obviously still use that for, say, Game Boy emulation or the like, but I'm not used to doing that for something with 3D graphics. Anywho, the opening bit here is basically the tutorial to get used to the controls and the basic mechanics of the game. Needing to hide under objects, avoid patrolling soldiers, bracing myself against a wall to look around a corner, and avoid combat when possible, since soldiers will 9 times out of 10 infinitely respawn. This being a basic tutorial section to get you adjusted to how the game plays, naturally I die twice before reaching the elevator. Dying takes you to your last checkpoint, usually when you've entered a new area. Saving the game does not actually save where you're at, just saves your last checkpoint, which feels pointless. If the game remembers the checkpoint anyway, why not just have that be an autosave rather than wanting you to manually save? I pick up the healing item of the game, field rations. In the original Metal Gear, they were cans of tuna. I assume it's the same here, and tuna is basically like spinach to Popeye for Solid Snake. After taking an elevator up to the surface, we shed ourselves of all this swimwear, and oh wow. So, the most popular version of Metal Gear Solid is called the Twin Snakes. It's a remake for the GameCube that added a lot, but most visually apparently would be the character models are in much higher detail than the original PlayStation version. Now obviously for the PS1, this is just fine. For PC in the year 2000, on the other hand, yeesh. Everyone has Youngblood's disease, they have visible mouths that never move, and they talk by bobbing their heads around like this was red versus blue.
It's Snake. I'm in front of the disposal facility. That took a long time. I guess you're feeling a little rusty.
Look, how was I supposed to know that there'd be a guy on the elevator waiting that second time around, Roy? We next meet Naomi Hunter, the doctor running medical support for Snake. She injected him with nanites, or nanomachines as they're called in the franchise, that help enhance Snake's body, helping against injury or illness, providing adrenaline, nutrients, and power for his codec. Then there's Mei Ling, the visual and data processing specialist, who we're supposed to call if we want to save the game. Thing is though, the PC port just has a menu I bring up by hitting escape that includes saving, so...
I just didn't expect a world-class designer of military technology to be so... cute.
I can't believe I'm being hit on by the famous Solid Snake.
First I'm strip searched by Dr. Naomi here, and then all my weapons are taken away. Imagine yourself put in that position.
Well, if you make it back in one piece, maybe I'll let you do a strip search on me.
I'll hold you to that, Doctor.
Okay, Snake, maybe it's time to be a little less solid right now. I feel like we should have a separate counter for how many boner jokes I make relating to his name, but I'm like decades late to the party on that, so I don't know how many I can really make that haven't been made a million times already. We sneak in using an air vent on the... I was going to make a joke about how fortunately our enemies can only see in a narrow triangle 4 feet in front of them, but I think you can see that that triangle is actually surprisingly effective. We soon get a call from another specialist aiding us, Master Miller, a character from Metal Gear 2 who is apparently Snake's mentor.
I've lived in Alaska longer than you, so call me if you have any questions about the flora or fauna out here.
Gotcha. I'm sure that Alaska moss heather is going to be the key to this whole thing. Anyway, as I'm playing John McClane in the air vents, I overhear two guards mention not only that they're going to be spraying the vents because of rats, nice to know the terrorists are still trying to keep up maintenance and whatnot, but more importantly, I learned they're keeping the DARPA chief in the basement alongside some other woman they've captured. However, they also mention an intruder, one who's killed 3 people, and given my track record so far in the game, clearly someone else has broken in at the same time as me. I retrieve my first gun, the SOCOM, a pistol that we'll later get a silencer for that'll allow us to kill people discreetly and without raising alarms. And maybe this is just because I'm on normal difficulty, but man, the guards here are bullet sponges. Even at point-blank range from behind, it takes a few shots to down somebody. And even with a machine gun, they'll just fall down and get back up again to resume being annoying. I sneak down, only alerting the guards once before they fail to look under a tank for me, and then I don't get seen again. And take an elevator down to basement 2. And here's where we discover that the nuclear disposal facility has a sense of humor, since there are several pressure-sensitive trapdoors around here that are instant death pits. I feel like this would create a hostile work environment. Although I'm going down here sooner than I should. Basement 1 is our real destination, and it has the DARPA chief. I sneak into his cell via the air vents before they can close it off for the rat poison. Also, the legendary Solid Snake doesn't know how to go up or down ladders. In his defense, though, he's only used to top-down two-dimensional movement until now. The DARPA chief confirms that the terrorists can launch a nuke. It seems that the disposal facility is also being used to test a new weapon from a Black Ops project, namely Metal Gear Rex. Stupid question, but why is this franchise called Metal Gear instead of just Solid Snake, or indeed just Tactical Espionage Action like in the tagline? Because it just seems weird that the franchise is named after an object that serves as the final boss enemy of the games, especially as the franchise moved forward and sometimes didn't have a Metal Gear as the final boss. Hell, why isn't this game called Metal Gear Rex instead of Solid when Snake is not actually connected to the Metal Gear? Anyway, like the previous Metal Gears, Rex is capable of launching a nuclear missile out from anywhere in the world. They were going to do testing at the facility and then begin mass producing the thing before the terrorists took over. There are 2 passwords necessary to arm the nuclear warhead. The DARPA chief had one password and the Arms Tech president the other. While the chief resisted torture, one of the Foxhound members, Psycho Mantis, has psychic powers and the chief claims he was able to pull the password from his mind. The chief says, however, that there's a way to disable the nuke. 3 card keys that, when all inputted into the computer, will shut it down. He claims that the president has them, secured in the 2nd floor basement in an area that's been sealed off with cement. There's a single door giving access to it otherwise, but we don't have access. The chief gives us his security card, another staple from the first 2 games. Which, gotta say, they made a huge quality of life improvement from those 2 games. In the very first game, you had to carry around like 8 different cards and cycling through them to open doors. In the second game, they had a method of condensing the cards, but you were still carrying around multiple ones you needed to check. Here, 1 security card that keeps getting upgraded for more access. They also give an unnecessary scientific explanation for why the doors just automatically open instead of sliding the card through a reader, which I feel is kind of not needed when it's just a simple game mechanic and all. Before they can head out, the chief asks if he's heard of any other way to disable the nuclear warhead. And then... just as well. I didn't want to do an escort mission anyway. Nobody at HQ knows why the hell the DARPA chief suddenly died. Naomi's best guess being that he had a heart attack, but nobody's really buying that. Not helped by Snake suddenly demanding to know if there's more going on than what he was briefed. Campbell confirms that there is a bunch of added security for this entire situation, and he may not have the facts either. Even with the DARPA chief dead, we still need to find the Arms Tech president. We step outside, and are immediately confronted by the woman from the cell over who took a guard's uniform. She's confused at first, mistaking Snake for the leader of the terrorists, Liquid Snake. So eventually, if Kojima ever goes back to Konami and makes Metal Gear 6, are we gonna get Gaseous and Plasma Snake? But Snake can tell that this woman is a rookie, partially because her hands are shaking, aiming a gun at him.
Liar. That nervous glance. That scared look in your eyes.
Behold! The scared look in her eyes! Some soldiers storm in, and this is a good moment to point out that the combat in the game is... not great. Admittedly, this might play better on console, but the SOCOM is a kind of auto-aim if I'm in the general vicinity of an enemy. However, it moves kind of slowly, and as I said, enemies can take a lot of hits, so you're almost guaranteed to take some damage when there are 3 enemies on screen at once, and there's no good way to run and gun. Now, to be fair, it's a stealth game. Combat isn't the focus. But of course, we still have to engage in quite a bit of combat, particularly against bosses, so it's not like it doesn't happen at all. The woman runs off, Snake taking a moment to check out her ass as she moves because insert dick joke about his name here. More interestingly, though, we get a flash to an odd scene. The DARPA chief supposedly dying on a torture rack, with the previously mentioned Psycho Mantis saying that he couldn't dive into his mind, and they failed to get the code. This sequence was a weird thing to have here. If you didn't understand the context of it, it's just head-scratching. If you do figure it out, it's giving away a detail early on that we really don't need to know right now, and kinda ruins the reveal later. Naomi tells Snake that the flash was likely a result of psychic interference from Psycho Mantis, but we never get anything like that in the future. So, again, just what the hell was the point of that? Anyway, with the level 1 key card, I now have access to a bunch of rooms. I load up on new equipment, including some C4, grenades, a suppressor for the SOCOM, chaff grenades, and most importantly, a cardboard box, one of the most iconic parts of the Metal Gear series. The box is a quick and dirty method of stealth, soldiers usually ignoring the thing as they pass by, though there are plenty of times, particularly if the box is in their path, where they'll lift the box and find you. There are 3 cardboard boxes in the game, and they act as a sort of fast travel system. Find a truck, wait in the truck in one of the 3 boxes, and it'll transport you to a different part of the base. I never used it a single time. I'm sure for some it's great, especially for speedruns, but personally I don't find the game maps big enough to really worry that much about backtracking. Except for 1 or 2 bits, but we'll get to that later. Finally, we get some thermal goggles, allowing us to see heat signatures, as well as hidden stuff like the trapdoors. Go figure. Proceeding to the basement, I locate a part of the wall that was cemented over and use some C4 to blow it up. It's a good thing this place doesn't do anything important like dispose of nuclear warheads, or else I might feel a little iffy about detonating explosives in it. They also apparently cemented over one corridor at a time, since I need to blow up a few more areas down there, including a little dungeon section with 2 cells with higher keycard levels than I've got, plus 2 auto guns that shoot me when I enter the triangle sightlines of doom. The correct path is actually 2 secret areas in, where I locate the Armstech president. He's tied to a pillar with a bunch of sensitive wires around him. Said wires linked to C4 hooked up all over. If I try to do anything to the wires or disturb them, the C4 will go off. It's here where we have our first boss fight against the Foxhound gunslinger Revolver Ocelot.
Now I'll show you why they call me Revolver.
It's not because of the gun, he just likes to twirl around in place for hours at a time. The fight is actually a lot easier than I thought it would be initially. At first I thought there was a gimmick to it. We're chasing him in a circle, so maybe I need to plant some C4 on the walls, wait for him to pass by, then detonate. Sure, most of the time it would kill the Armstech president in the process, but I figured I was onto something. But yeah, I think I lost like 5 times, but unfortunately I accidentally forgot to hit record. Still, I consider those deaths, so adding them to the count. What you're supposed to do is chase him in circles as he shoots behind you, waiting for him to reload, then get a shot or 2 out. And the entire time, the president is moaning the same pain sound effect without any pause to it. I was getting close to just letting him get killed and ending the game there when I finally defeated Ocelot. Despite having several of my bullets in him, plus I still detonated some C4 on him to speed up the process, Ocelot is still alive and well and tries to shoot me once more, only for an invisible cyborg ninja to suddenly speed in, cut off his hand, then free the Armstech president. This still sets off the C4 that he was strapped to, but it doesn't hit him. Duck and cover works better than I thought. Snake asks who the rejected Star Wars character is.
I like you. I have no name.
Spoilers, this dude totally has a name. The ninja suddenly starts freaking out and then runs off, leaving me with the Armstech president. The president reports that they were able to get the code out of him through torture, and that everyone who has said codes has implants in their brains to prevent mind reading like Psycho Mantis, which of course confuses Snake given what the DARPA chief said. He also says that the woman whom Snake met earlier has the card keys. He says he was in touch with her via codec and that we can use the frequency on the back of the CD case to contact her. Oh, right, the CD case. I'll check that later. Do you have the CD case? He's not sure there's any other way to stop Metal Gear. I don't know, maybe a crap ton of surface-to-air missiles fired by one gravelly-voiced rigid fellow? But he directs us to find Hal Emmerich, the lead scientist developing Metal Gear Rex. Snake also asks why they're even building the thing when the nuclear age is over, but the president says that it's never been stronger. We get a little lecture about how much nuclear waste there is, the proliferation of nuclear weapons, the poor state of storing such waste, even some full-motion video of real-life missiles.
I know writers who use subtext, and they're all cowards.
But yeah, the idea is that with America's rivals and potentially other nations developing their own nukes, they need a better deterrent, thus Metal Gear. They've already completed the test exercise, and he hands over the data they collected, the president suspecting that Snake was just sent to retrieve that data for the Secretary of Defense. Snake also wonders about the ninja, and the president says he should ask Naomi about it, that he thinks the ninja is an experimental Foxhound soldier. And then he dies too. Snake, you are 2 for 2 now on failing to rescue hostages. You are really out of practice. Reporting in, they don't have any more answers about how they died, though Snake suspects they're lying to him about that. Campbell orders us to contact the woman, who is actually his niece, Meryl. Naomi also denies knowing about the ninja. Well, with that all done with, I get a boost in health and a new key card that grants me access to another storage room with a new gun, the FAMAS. Yeah, that one was on me. I didn't spot the weird layout of laser motion sensors that you can get around with the thermal goggles. The important thing is I now have a machine gun, ho ho ho. Anyway, without much in the way of direction, I decide to head outside to see if there's anything I couldn't access before. Full disclosure, I ended up using an FAQ and walkthrough at some points because I couldn't figure out what to do next, or I wanted to speed things along to get footage. but I always at least tried to do stuff on my own first to see if I could figure it out. This time, again, it was just me being stupid since they told me what to do. Call Meryl. And of course, all the radio frequencies are available online, so no need to worry about having a CD case to consult. And it seems that Meryl's heard of us. We're the legendary Solid Snake. Yes, that's right, we're the ones who took down the Machine Gun Kid. Meryl says that she was so shocked to see Solid Snake before because he is a dead ringer for Liquid Snake. Yes, absolute twinsies, these two. She reveals that this place was never a nuclear disposal facility. It's owned by one of Armstech's dummy corporations specifically for the development of Metal Gear. Foxhound were invited in to help secure the test and observe things when they suddenly took over the facility. Snake asks if she has the key cards and she confirms it.
Amazing you were able to keep them hidden from the guards.
Well, women have more hiding places than men.
It's not what you think. In the Metal Gear universe, women have more pockets in their pants than men. Meryl has a security card that gets her to the other building where Hal Emmerich is, but Snake doesn't want her along, saying she's too inexperienced. She, however, is determined to prove herself since being a soldier is all she's ever wanted to be. She does agree to hold off for now and open up the cargo door to allow Snake to get to the next building, though he's not happy about it. After delicately getting past the laser security system that releases poison gas if you cross them, I have to cross a minefield. There is a mine detector you can pick up in another room for that, but you can also just use the thermal goggles to see the mines. Crawling over them allows you to pick them up, just like regular landmines. Anyway, we're warned about the mines by a mysterious figure whom we can't see, but says we should call him Deep Throat. Jimmy James? But let's not worry about the mines. We've got our next boss encounter, a tank piloted by this huge dude named Vulcan Raven. So, funny story, you don't need to be close to the tank to throw a chaff grenade and disrupt its sensors. Wish I had known that before. But yeah, the chaff grenades will temporarily blind the tank. A gunner will come out to shoot you with a turret, but opening up the hatch allows you to toss regular grenades into the tank and take it down. Mind you, I did go back inside to restock on supplies. You know, maybe I can make do with what I've got. Yeah, I'm sure it's fine. Somehow, Vulcan Raven survives that even if the other tank drivers did not, revealing that they want Snake to go deeper into the base.
He is just as you said. In battle, he is as if possessed by a demon.
Yeah, a demon from Doom, given how many bullets were perforating me.
In the language of the Sioux people, Sioux means snake.
Actually, according to my research, the name Sioux derives from the French, a shortening of the longer word Nadoesu. While the name Sioux seems to have been adopted for the most part by their whole nation, there are different groups within the greater nation of them, and the tribes will sometimes reclaim their traditional names. Although, take all that with a grain of salt, I'm a white dude who just Googled that out of curiosity to see if that was true. Sioux does seem to mean little snakes, in Ojibwe at least. I enter the next building and immediately come into a room that's storing nuclear warheads. They can't be detonated, but gunfire could cause a plutonium leak, so Naomi reprograms the nanomachines so that I can't use my guns in the room. Kinda wish the enemy had gotten that memo, but it doesn't really matter. I'm never really in a situation where firing my guns would have helped. I take an elevator down and grab a Nikita missile launcher, which allows me to fire remote-controlled missiles. I use them one level down from there, a lab area that's filled with poison gas and protected by an electrified floor. I guide the remote missile, after a lot of trial and error, into a high-voltage switch, then acquire a gas mask. The mask won't completely protect me from the gas, but it slows down the loss of oxygen enough that I can stay in those areas a lot longer. Yeah, I deliberately did it that time to save me the trouble of having to go back and get more missiles when I ran out. Okay, that one was accidental. With the electrified floor taken care of, I enter another office area to find a lot of corpses in a hallway.
It's a ghost.
Casper returns, and he's not friendly when it comes to nuclear weapons. No, of course, it's the cyborg ninja, who we follow into the office area to find this man literally pissing himself in fear.
Who are you?
Neither enemy nor friend.
Oh, great, a centrist. We're not compromising with the people who want to launch a nuke, man.
I am back from a world where such words are meaningless.
Sheboygan, Wisconsin. The ninja says that they've been looking forward to this for a long time and wants to savor the fight.
What's with these guys? It's like one of my Japanese animes.
This is exactly like Hamtaro. Anyway, it's time for the legendary Super Snake. The scientist hides in a locker while we have our boss battle against the cyborg ninja, who says this is the only way his soul can find respite. This was a difficult fight for me, but not an unfair one. It's separated into 4 phases. The first, you're just running around trying to punch him. He's able to deflect any bullets, and explosives don't seem to affect him. After you've punched him enough, he turns on his cloaking device to try to sneak up on you, so I just ran back and forth on the bottom of the map, waited for the visual distortion, and punched him. Easy peasy, especially if you also use chaff grenades to screw with his equipment. It's phase 3 that kept giving me trouble. He'll walk up to Snake, then suddenly teleport behind him or off to the side, striking from behind and then fading away to do it again. Sometimes I could predict where he was going to be and move accordingly, but more often than not he got in the hits and killed me. Hell, one of my deaths he got me even though his health was hanging on by a pixel. Eventually I managed to cheese it by going into a corner, limiting the amount of places he could teleport, and even then I still died once while trying this strategy. The final phase, he sets up some kind of electrical bubble around himself, and at that point you can shoot him with the SOCOM a few times, finishing the fight. Still took me almost an hour. Snake thinks he finally recognizes the guy as Gray Fox, who is supposed to have been killed in Metal Gear 2. He starts freaking out again.
What's happening?
Oh yeah, I sympathize. I had the same reaction when reading Marvel. He cloaks and runs off again, Snake calling up HQ to report on who the ninja is. Naomi says that, yep, it is him based on stuff that was happening with Foxhound right after Roy Campbell and Snake had retired. Gray Fox's body being recovered from Zanzibar and being experimented on.
But he was already dead.
Look who knows so much, huh?
Yeah, they managed to revive him from the dead, but only after years of experimentation and shoving him into that ninja suit. Anyway, we recover the scientist, and it's actually Hal Emmerich, better known by the name Otacon. Otacon thinks that the Metal Gear project was to be used for defensive purposes, that it was intended to shoot down enemy missiles, but is horrified to learn its true intent for firing nukes. Which is odd that he wouldn't know that since he's the lead engineer designing him. Sure, he claims that another department was in charge of the armament, but Metal Gear itself would have to be built to accommodate one purpose versus another. There's only so much you can do separately. So yeah, Otacon swears to help us out of guilt for his part in this.
I used to think that I could use science to help mankind.
Yeah, you seem like that kind of loser. He explains that Rex is being stored in the underground maintenance base north of the communications tower, and that is a bit of a walk. Otacon injured his leg and can't come.
I don't need you. I just need your brain.
Scoop it out for me. Snake says that Otacon should hide somewhere and provide intel over comms. He even has the same cloaking technology as the ninja since it was developed for Foxhound. Snake calls up Meryl to try to get her to watch over him, but she gets interrupted before we can talk to her. Otacon suggests that there may only be one place that can find her in privacy, but it's left to the player to figure out where. I'll just say it now, it's the women's restroom. He also provides us with another security card, Snake also wondering why Otacon isn't doubling over like the last 2 people we rescued. He also explains his nickname, short for Otaku Convention, since as established, he's a huge anime fan, particularly for giant robot stuff. Otacon is the living embodiment of that meme of the guy looking at a Gundam and going, "Cool robot," while the "war is bad" message flies over his head. And we're on our way again to the other basement level. Though first I go back to the gas halls to restock on supplies. I follow Meryl into the bathroom and Snake hits on her.
Besides, it's a waste of time. When I joined up, they gave me psychotherapy to destroy my interest in men.
So, which part of the old don't ask, don't tell policy encouraged psychotherapy to turn women into lesbians? We get character development for the two. Despite Meryl's sarcastic attitude, she actually really admires Snake and his efforts in the past, believing him to be a hero of the people. But Snake shoots this down, that he just did these sort of things for himself, but without any real purpose in life other than the exhilaration from being on the battlefield. Anyway, Meryl says that the president only gave her one of the 3 key cards and has no idea where the other 2 could be. And then we jarringly go back to character development, where Meryl admits that while she wanted to become a soldier all her life, It was more driven by a desire to understand her father, a soldier himself who died when she was very young. And then back over to awkward comedy as Snake suggests she swap out her gun with one not as powerful because she has cooties and all.
Listen, I've used a gun like this since I was 8 years old. I'm more comfortable with it than I am with a bra.
To be fair though, your boobs are very angular polygons right now, so I don't think you really need a bra. Meryl and I proceed to the commander's office on the same floor, locked behind a security card she has. Once we reach the office, however, Meryl doubles over from a headache and then quickly recovers, leading us into the office, and she aims a gun at us.
Hold me, Snake.
What's wrong?
Hurry. Make love to me.
Okay, Meryl, I think the psychotherapy to destroy your interest in men took you in some weird directions instead. Yeah, of course, Psycho Mantis is mind-controlling her, and we have to knock her out before she shoots us. He reveals himself, and infamously, for this bit of the game, he'd break the fourth wall by reading the PlayStation or GameCube memory card to list off games you may have saved data for, then make your controller vibrate. Obviously, that's not gonna work here, though it'd be hilarious if it did. Ah, I see you enjoy playing Among Us. You also play quite a few Pokemon games. Like, a lot. Emulated ones, fan games, weird. Oh, and I see you have Diablo 4 installed. And you have not gotten very far at all. Yeah, I just honestly have not been feeling it. Glad I got it on a sale. Diablo 2 remains the best in the series, honestly. Boss fight time again. Shockingly enough, the Psycho Mantis fight on PC is relatively easy. I beat it on my first try. Equip thermal goggles to see him, dodge the stuff he telekinetically throws at you, then shoot him or punch him. In some cases, it's better to punch him because eventually he wakes Meryl up to try to have her kill herself, and that's an instant game over. But of course, you can just knock her out again after several punches. But yeah, spray and pray with a machine gun works just as effectively against him. As Meryl recovers, Mantis tells Snake the route to get to the underground maintenance bay. Snake asks why Mantis is telling us this, and he explains how he's read thousands and thousands of people's minds, all of them obsessed with the same thing. Breeding, apparently.
Every living thing on this planet exists to mindlessly pass on their DNA. And that's why there is war.
It's totally inapplicable to anything that's going on here. And it's dumb.
That's selfish, an atavistic desire to pass on one's seed. It was enough to make me sick.
Okay, but then why do you dress in bondage gear? Or did you get called in right in the middle of your Cenobite cosplay? He says that he and Snake are alike. Instead of living in the past or future, they live in the moment. He has a cynical view of humanity, only bringing pain and misery upon each other. He says he wasn't actually that on board with Liquid Snake's whole terrorist action.
His dreams of world conquest do not interest me.
I was just in it for the healthcare, honestly. No, he just wanted to kill people. And he says that Snake is worse than him or his boss.
Compared to you, I'm not so bad.
No.
I mean, call me an idealist, but you said you joined up to murder people, and I signed up to stop a nuke. One of these things is not like the other. He also says that from reading Meryl's mind, she has a large place in her heart for him.
A large place?
Yes, a large place.
But I'm pretty sure there's an HOA, so avoid it. His final request is to put his gas mask back on. It provides the defense against other people's thoughts leaking into his. Naturally, since he has violated our own minds, tortured people, tried to murder us, and mind-controlled people, we're only too happy to honor his last request. Still, he opens up a hidden door for us to get to the communications tower. Meryl asks us some personal questions. Snake's real name, his age, if he's seeing anybody, but of course Snake has to be all brooding loner and stuff. Anyway, we have to cross the outside and some caves to get to the communications tower, also having to deal with wolves along the way. Meryl has a dog whistle that protects her, but she runs off ahead of us and literally leaves us to the wolves as a result. It's fine though. What? That was my fault. I accidentally clicked C4 instead of stun grenades. As we approach the tower, I deal with some more Claymore mines, only for Meryl to get repeatedly shot by Sniper Wolf, Foxhounds. Well, it's kind of in her name, isn't it? And just yeesh, those blasts look like she's spraying out more blood than an old samurai movie. Meryl is left in the middle of the corridor to act as bait for Snake, but they both see through it. Meryl wants Snake to kill her, but he's not exactly enthusiastic about that plan.
I was a fool. I wanted to be a soldier. But war is ugly. There's nothing glamorous about it.
Kinda wish I had this revelation before 3 new holes got punched in me, though. Look, Meryl, don't worry. Snipers are good, but they still need a clean shot, so all I need to do is serpentine a bit and... Okay, I might need my own sniper rifle. Fortunately, we call up Otacon, and he informs us that there's one all the way back in the 2nd floor basement of the tank hangar.
I have to go all the way back there?
Yup! Now, at the time, I did not know about the get in a certain cardboard box in a truck to be delivered back to that area thing, so I don't know if there was one I could have taken. But because I didn't know, I had to go back through the wolves, up the elevator, through the room I can't shoot in, back over the minefield where the tank was, and down another elevator. Fortunately, they have turned off the laser sensors at the tank hangar, back into the supply rooms, and between some very narrow laser sensors to grab the PSG-1 sniper rifle. And then I have to go all the way back to the sniper spot. Assuming there wasn't a truck to take back here, man, that's a lot of backtracking for a single gun when they could just put it in the office area or the gas-filled area just hidden behind the higher security level. The game is not that huge, so it wasn't the worst backtracking, but it felt like it was artificially padding the length of the game. Anyway, back to the sniper fight. Meryl is gone, with surprisingly not as big a blood splatter on the ground considering how much she was gushing before. This fight is a bit tricky, but not impossible. In addition to the sniper rifle, in regular exploration, you'll also probably have picked up some diazepam, a drug that keeps your nerves steady. Otherwise, we won't be able to stay still to line up the shot. Once Sniper Wolf has shot a few times, you can use the sniper rifle to try to get a shot off on her. Every time she gets hit, she moves, and if you get shot while in sniper mode, it sends your scope wildly in another direction, and you have to set up the shot again. It's honestly more annoying that the safety railing will block shots you make, and if you're not exactly precise enough with a few arrow keys, your shots will miss and she'll kill you first. Once you know what you're doing, though, boom, she's out of the fight and we can proceed down the corridor. Right to a security door we can't open, and Sniper Wolf to ambush us with a bunch of soldiers.
It's hard to miss when you're this close. Toss your weapon over here.
It's also apparently very hard to zip up your shirt there, Sniper Wolf. Did your bra get in the way of lining up your shot or something? We're knocked out and brought to the tender care of Revolver Ocelot, who strips us of all of our equipment and attaches us to a torture rack. We're actually given some free movement for our POV camera when we come to, for all the good that does us. Liquid Snake is present, ranting about how Solid Snake stole his birthright and what was rightfully his, but let's not worry about that right now.
After 30 long years, finally, the two of us meet.
Yeah, I can tell how excited you are by the look on your face? Anyway, Liquid gets a call informing him that the Americans aren't playing ball, and as such, they'll launch the nuke in 10 hours. We're left with Ocelot for the torture and interrogation. Ocelot confirming that Meryl is alive, but also that there's a trick to using the override keys that he wants to know about. Snake, of course, knows nothing, so he gets electrocuted. In this little mini-game where I need to keep hitting the action button to restore my health and resist the torture. Yeah, I may not have understood what the action button was at first. Whoops. We're brought to a cell to recover, and weirdly, the DARPA chief's corpse is there. Except this one's clearly been dead for days. Of course! We've created a time paradox! We've still got our codec on us, and we call up HQ. Snake is pissed, as it seems that indeed Campbell knew more about Metal Gear Rex and didn't bother to share any of that information. What's more, Campbell confirms that the US president doesn't know about it either, for the sake of plausible deniability for international politics' sake.
So patriotism is your excuse for circumventing the Constitution?
Message, Spock? None that I'm conscious of.
God, it sucks that the story featuring cyborg ninjas and nanomachines and mech suits is more relevant now than ever.
Please, Snake, just stop them. Why should I?
Okay, that's a repeated thing in this game. People asking why he's doing this, and him asking why he should stop the terrorists. And I'm just over here like, because they're gonna launch a nuke and murder countless innocents! Did they just forget what a nuclear weapon does? Like, yeah, the government sucks, but that doesn't mean I want the terrorists to have the nuke either! The military looks even worse when Snake says all they want is Big Boss's remains. Why not just give it to them? And the answer is just...
Can't! The press!
The president is opposed to eugenics experiments, and somehow handing over Big Boss's remains will expose the genetic experiments they did to help create the genome soldiers, or whatever, that make up Foxhound's troops. Hey, you know what would look really bad politically? If a nuclear missile was launched at the US and lots of people died and you could have stopped it! After another torture session, Ocelot rambles about how he's in this to help Russia, planning on selling Rex to the Russians when this is all over. Back in our cell, I contact Otacon in the hope he can rescue us.
What cell? There's a big torture machine nearby. Okay, I know it.
Oh, yeah, torture machines are standard equipment in a lab where you're developing mechs. To take his mind off the pain, Snake contacts HQ again and asks Naomi to talk about her life and family. Snake also shares that he doesn't know his own family, that Big Boss used to say that he was his father.
And you were able to kill him, knowing that?
Yep.
How?
He wanted it.
There was a lot of emotional weight and character significance given to a bunch of fairly one-note characters from an 8-bit game. After expounding upon his relationship with Grey Fox and Naomi talking about her past, the guard outside the cell suddenly has food poisoning or something and runs off. This allows Otacon to come in. He unfortunately can't open the cell door, but gives us a ration, some ketchup, tuna and ketchup, even better than grape jelly and mustard, a new security card, and a handkerchief given to him by Sniper Wolf, who's apparently very nice to him for some reason. He tries to convince Snake that she's not all that bad. She protected the dogs from being killed by the terrorists when they took over. But personally, I just think he likes being able to see her boobs like that. What you're supposed to do is use the ketchup to make it look like we're dead in the cell and bleeding, but I couldn't figure out how to get the ketchup to cooperate, so I took the alternate path. Hide under the bed and the guard comes in looking for us. I knock him out and retrieve all my stuff from the torture room, which turns out to be back in the tank hangar behind a door we couldn't get into before. So we have to go all the way back to the communications tower. Also making sure to get a call from Deep Throat, who warns us that they planted a bomb inside of our stuff that we should probably toss out before it blows us to hell.
That Deep Throat's a real enigma. He's definitely from inside their ranks.
Who knew Mark Felt was a member of Foxhound? Anyway, all the way back to where we got captured. I take the time to make a minor detour to grab some body armor from the gas-filled area, which should reduce damage from enemy bullets. Also, fortunately for this trip, by equipping Sniper Wolf's handkerchief, the wolves won't bother us since now we smell like her. When we reach the corridor where we last saw Meryl, we get some character development for Snake as he talks about what happened with her. But no time for that now, it's time for one of the worst parts of the game. The communications tower. Now, admittedly, if you know what you're doing, you're probably fine. As soon as you enter deeper into it, security detects you and you start getting chased by an endless wave of soldiers. And I mean endless. Do not attempt to fight the ones behind you. It just wastes your time. Let them chase you up the tower. Thank God this game does not have a stamina bar in it, because this is the worst. You just have to keep moving left up the stairs, occasionally tossing stun grenades that will blind and slow down both the opponents behind you and the ones in front of you. Yeah, you're gonna walk into a hail of gunfire every couple of levels, and oh God, there are so many levels! It's advised to either stun the guys in front of you or have no weapon equipped and toss them behind you to slow down the guys chasing you. See, in your rush, you will run right into these guys and they will punch you back down for a few others to shoot you while you're down. Look at friggin' Gandalf right here telling us we shall not pass. At a certain point, you reach a security door and you think it wasn't so bad, it's over now. Nope, Otacon calls to tell us the door is frozen and you need to use C4 on the other side to get it open, which I guess was standard operating procedure at this base with nuclear weapons in it. But yeah, the point of this is to cross over from one tower to the other, and the only other walkway to do so is on the roof. So up, and away we go! Of course, sometimes when you're trying to throw someone, the game misinterprets your actions and instead you start choking them and another soldier can shoot you. And of course, even if you're doing everything right, you're still being shot at, which means your health and your rations get depleted pretty quickly. This is also a point where game design should probably take a backseat to common sense. Those who have played this game before are probably wondering, wait, why isn't he equipping the body armor? That'll make the stairs easier. Yeah, funny story. I didn't know at the time you had to have it equipped. I thought I just picked it up and it was like a permanent buff. Because why wouldn't it work like that? It's body armor. You put it on and that's that. What, is Snake running around holding the body armor out in front of him like a shield? Still, I managed to make it to the roof, and all those dozens of soldiers chasing me don't have Roy Campbell telling them how to climb ladders, so they just give up. However, on the roof, my missiles? I've put them down somewhere around here. With the bridge destroyed, I need to rappel down with the rope The rope that I... Oh. You're supposed to grab a rope at the base of the tower when you're first spotted, but in my rush for this attempt, I forgot to grab it. Fuck! So many stairs. Why isn't the rope just up here? Fortunately, we do not have to fight anyone on the way back up. I did throw a chaff grenade to blind the camera just in case. It's just tedious is all. Once back up, we enter into a little rappelling section that I just never really got the hang of how to do it, but I got down to the bridge without too much difficulty. Waiting for us are 3 soldiers who are far enough away that we need to use the sniper rifle to... Yeah, I should have used a ration here. They go down in the second attempt. We enter the second tower to go down. Remember, we're only here because we're trying to get around the damn thing to the next building. But it seems all those missiles that Liquid has been firing from the helicopter have destroyed the way down. There's an elevator that Otacon uses to catch up with us, but he reports that the elevator doesn't seem to be working anymore for some reason. But hey, at least we're focused on the task at hand here to...
Do you think love can bloom, even on a battlefield?
TikTok, guys! Ask Snake on a date later! Nuclear holocaust is fast approaching! Yeah, they're talking about their feelings for Sniper Wolf and Meryl, but we've got bigger fish to fry. With the way down out of action for a bit, Snake decides to go and take care of Liquid, meaning... stairs.
So many stairs. I'd like to find whoever invented the stairs and push him down these stairs.
The way back up, though, we have to contend with auto turrets. Fortunately, some chaff grenades do the trick, and we reach the roof for another boss fight. Liquid's still in the helicopter, I guess just hovering around waiting for us up here.
Why are you calling me brother? Who the hell are you?
I'm you! I'm your shadow!
Weird, you don't sound like Keanu Reeves at all. We have a Stinger missile launcher now for this fight, and the idea is to bait the helicopter into a good spot to lock onto him and then fire, then dodge his incoming bullets. I guess just firing more missiles at us would be too easy or something. For some reason, I kept having problems getting used to the Stinger's control. It shifts you into first-person mode, and for some reason my muscle memory was telling me to invert the controls. Down arrow to go up and vice versa. And it really took some effort to break that. I can't explain why. All I do know is that it'd be a lot easier if I could just do it with a mouse instead of the arrow keys. The result was me often taking too long to get a lock or getting shot by him and thus sending my aim flying away, so I'd have to reset myself. It's not actually a difficult fight once you figure out his movement patterns. But it's still tricky if, say, you shoot a missile too close to the thing you've been using to take cover behind. He goes down, and so do we, once again needing to chaff grenade the turrets on the way. Otacon reports that the elevator just started working again for no explained reason, and we board it. Our buddy soon alerting us to the reason why. The elevator weight limit. It seems the camouflage suit Otacon had was not the only one they made. There were 4 more, and they're all gone, taken by the 4 soldiers who attack us in the elevator. Still, thermal goggles reveal them. And hey, if you're gonna play Predator, then I might as well play the mercenaries from that movie. A pity that when they die, they just evaporate and leave the fresh scent of pine. I could have used one of those cloaking devices. Especially since it's time for Sniper Wolf again. Otacon begs us not to kill her, even as she's taking shots at us in a big open field. There are a few ways to handle this, primarily using the sniper rifle as before, but frankly, especially with how open it is and how I don't really like using the sniper rifle, particularly because of needing to take drugs to stabilize yourself, I opted for using the remote-controlled missiles to hit her from a distance. It takes about 8 missiles to bring her down, and now it's time for her dramatic death scene. She asks us to finish her off since her lungs are filling with blood.
I was born on the battlefield. Raised on the battlefield.
It was a weird daycare, but they always brought us dinosaur fruit snacks, and it was delicious.
Gunfire, sirens, and screams. They were my lullabies.
I got the same effect from listening to Maroon 5's music. She talks about growing up in a war zone and how eventually Big Boss rescued her from all that. Lest you note the hypocrisy, since she just became a soldier, she rationalizes it by saying that, as a sniper, she was no longer in the middle of war, but observing it through a scope. But still, she joined up with Foxhound to get her revenge on the world for turning a blind eye to what she suffered through. I will criticize Hideo Kojima for awkward dialogue and blunt, right-to-the-face messaging about this stuff, but you can't say he doesn't make a point with it and incorporates those messages into the characters well, so that they have understandable backstories and motivations. Otacon shows up, weeping over losing her as Snake shoots her to end her pain. Snake encourages Otacon to try to get out of here and get a head start on a new life, but he says he wants to keep trying to help.
Snake! What was she fighting for? What am I fighting for? What are you fighting for?
Why does nobody remember the imminent nuclear attack that I want to stop? Like, Snake might be jaded and all, but at no point has he been, I don't care about civilians dying from a nuke. Anyway, this area is full of supply rooms to restock, and I take full advantage of that, including one full of active claymore mines for some reason. How are they even hidden? It's floor, not some dirt they can bury it in. I enter the underground hangar, which also has a big foundry in it for some reason. Gonna take this opportunity while I recover from being hit by a crane somehow to make a minor complaint about the latter half of the game. Aside from this section right here as we enter the hangar, the second half of Metal Gear Solid is more of a boss rush than anything else. Some of that is not in the traditional sense. But between the major boss fights, like the helicopter fight or Sniper Wolf, we have very little in the way of standard gameplay sections where we have to be stealthy and avoid combat. The run up and down the communications tower, the fight in the elevator, a forced sniper section on the bridge. It is relatively unique fight sequences and boss fights involving patient strategies to take down someone with a lot of HP. For something known as a stealth game, there is very little in the way of stealth in these final portions. And that's fine, it's not bad, but it feels like the pacing is weird as a result. We're gonna have more stuff like that going forward, but for now, blow up the crane to sneak across a narrow ledge, try to evade soldiers, unsuccessful in my case, go through a door into a cargo elevator, and travel down chased by soldiers for another segment where I need to kill a bunch of them. Just like against the stealth soldiers, only perfectly visible and with less reliable spray and pray because it's a wider area. At the bottom, another cargo area guarded by a turret and once again mines hidden in the metal floor along with yet another cargo elevator. Fortunately, the second elevator doesn't have soldiers. Unless these are actually a bunch of trained crows that are gonna peck my eyes out. Otacon, I need coat hangers, now! Still, Master Miller calls up to inform us that something weird is up. During our last conversation, Naomi talked some more about her backstory, and a lot of the details she gave don't add up. He suspects she may be working with the terrorists and says he'll keep digging. We enter a cold storage area for our next boss fight. Once again against Vulcan Raven. Not in a tank, though it might as well be given the firepower he's hauling around. This gun bigger than he is.
I can't move. The Raven has put the mark of death upon you.
Damn, this is gonna lead to a really good episode of Doctor Who, but then a really disappointing season finale.
Rejoice, Snake. Ours will be a glorious battle.
Not really. It's a pretty easy boss fight, frankly. There are cargo containers everywhere that you hide behind while he walks around looking for you. You can fire remote missiles at him like I did for a bit, but he can sense them and sometimes shoot them down. Instead, I eventually defeated him by planting C4 and detonating whenever he crossed them. Unfortunately, Vulcan Raven's boobs are not as impressive as Sniper Wolf's, so he doesn't really get as dramatic a death as her. He simply says that his spirit and flesh will become one with the Ravens, and he hands over the final security card. We ask him why.
You and the boss. You are from another world.
Snake was an alien this whole time? He also warns us that the DARPA chief who died in front of us wasn't the DARPA chief, but another member of Foxhound, Decoy Octopus, who was a master of disguise. He won't tell us why they were impersonating the DARPA chief, but we'll find out soon enough.
In the natural world, there's no such thing as boundless slaughter.
Oh my god, guys, can you wait like 2 minutes to devour me and all? I am trying to have a conversation here.
Each step you take is paved with the corpses of your enemies. Their souls will haunt you forever.
Nah, that's Metal Gear Solid 3. The birds disperse and he's just gone. Miller calls and updates me and Campbell about Naomi. Turns out she's an imposter. The real Naomi Hunter was reported missing in the Middle East, and they suspect the Naomi they have is actually a spy. Campbell is especially worried since he says they can't finish the mission without her, leading Miller and Snake to suspect that they know more about the deaths of the DARPA chief and the arms tech president than they've let on. The next area right after the freezer is a big trap, just a room full of turrets. But of course, a single chaff grenade takes them all out for me to run past and finally arrive in the hangar to meet Metal Gear Rex, which is strangely unguarded. Otacon calls and we report on the strange lack of people, but he suspects that they're getting ready to launch. In the meantime, he's trying to hack into the president's files to figure out how to use the failsafe system even if we only have the one key card for it. In the meantime, I climb up Rex for a bit until reaching the control room. Interrupted a few times by Otacon revealing more info that's not really all that relevant. Just how the deployment system works, how it gets around international treaties, how arms tech was in financial trouble, etc. At the control room, Liquid Snake somehow survived the helicopter crash and is talking with Ocelot about everything. They claim they've activated the warhead, and fortunately they're not actually planning on nuking a major population center, instead aiming for a nuclear test site in China. The idea is that it will force the American government to try to cover this up through negotiation with him, rather than expose the whole ballgame. After all, a hit on a test site is easier to cover up than nuking an actual city, and at that point the government won't be interested in talking, just taking him out. It also forces international pressure on the government, since obviously China will know something is up. It's actually a pretty clever, subtle gambit, and helps reinforce the question of why Snake is doing this, since it makes it a whole political game instead of just being based around saving lives. Turns out they don't just want Big Boss's remains, but $1 billion and the Foxdie vaccine, which is for some illness plaguing their soldiers. Ocelot says that Foxdie is what killed Octopus and the arms tech president. Liquid also makes it clear that he's not planning on escaping. He wants to dig in at the base and bring in their Russian allies to reinforce them, and restart Big Boss's world domination schemes using Rex to threaten the world with their nukes.
From today, call this place Outer Heaven.
A planned community! They also say that Meryl is alive and Liquid wants to use her as a bargaining chip. Otacon calls and explains how the failsafe system works. It's also a system of activating the nuke. If you put the keys in when the warhead is active, it turns it off. If you input the keys when the warhead is turned off, it will activate it. Why would it work like that? That is a terrible system! The point of having only the two codes given to two separate people is to make it harder to activate it. Having the failsafe system also be capable of activating it just means any moron with the deactivation system, something you want lots of people to know in case something goes wrong, can also turn the damn thing on! Oh, and the best part is that the keys can only be used once, meaning if you activate the system using the keys, there is no way to disable it, given the keys were the only way of doing so in the first place!
It just raises too many questions.
I'd say that I hope the people on this project who designed the system got fired, but chances are they're probably dead from the terrorist attack, so don't I feel like an asshole now? Anyway, operating under the assumption that we're still going to use this to turn the damn thing off, Otacon explains what the trick to using the keycards is. See, there is only one key card. The card is made of an amorphous substance that changes based on temperature. Thus, one card is actually 3 cards. The base room temperature version, a version after it's been heated up, and one where it's severely cooled down. Just insert the thing at each temperature and you've got your failsafe. It's probably way more complicated than it needs to be, especially since a failsafe should probably be something easy to input in a hurry. But hey, at least it's some security on this thing. We get spotted and Ocelot shoots at us, and since we were just looking at the card, we throw it from our hand down into a drainage system. Less Solid Snake and more Butterfingers Snake. We go all the way back down to the base of the hangar and, using the mine detector we picked up earlier, we're able to find the card. Though apparently it's possible to lose it and we need to, get it from a rat that ate it or something if we don't get it fast enough. And this is another bit I have to criticize in terms of backtracking. Now, obviously, we have a very cold room and a very hot room that we go into to change the keycard's shape. However, after just getting down from the top of the hangar, we now have to go back to the top to activate the room temperature version, since they have to be inputted in order. We then have to go all the way down again, go to the cold room, hold the keycard out to make it cold, then go back up once more to insert it. Then go back down a third time to go all the way back to the foundry area to heat up the card, then run back to the hangar and up one more time to insert that! And bear in mind, we also have to remember the hazards along the way. A few soldiers, auto turrets, trapdoors, etc. Starting from when we first dropped the keycard into the drainage ditch, it took me 37 minutes to complete all this backtracking. Admittedly, there are some cutscenes to help break this up, but it's still way longer than it should be when this is all just running back and forth along this area we've already been over. Possibly more times if you're like me and did some backtracking earlier to resupply on grenades and ammo. Anyway though, let's talk plot. Miller calls and says that a friend of his in the Pentagon told him about what Fox Die is. It's a genetically engineered virus designed to attack and kill very specific people. Probably the ultimate assassination weapon, really, and it simulates a heart attack in the victim. Miller says that Naomi developed it and injected it into Snake, making him a carrier who would assassinate certain people during this mission without him even realizing it. Campbell reports that Naomi has been arrested, that she's been sending secret messages during this whole mission. On the way back with the third keycard, Naomi calls us to inform us that not everything she's been saying is a lie. She doesn't know who she really is. She was found in Rhodesia by Grey Fox, who raised her like he was her brother. Big Boss also helped provide for her, but then Snake killed Big Boss and severely injured Grey Fox. She was after revenge on him, but she admits that her attitude towards him has changed over time. She did help in turning Grey Fox into the cyborg ninja, but he's acting on his own, wanting some glorious final fight against Snake. Naomi did indeed develop Fox Die, but she did not choose to infect Snake and the others with it. Campbell interrupts before she can explain, and we proceed with inserting the final keycard.
PAL code entry complete. Detonation code activated.
Well, this is bad news.
Yeah, we screwed up, people. I'd say we should have seen it coming, but we've been kind of on a time crunch with the whole trying to stop the nuke launch that we didn't put the pieces together. Miller contacts us, and it's revealed that he's not Miller at all, but Liquid in disguise. Although I do question the big reveal of him taking off the glasses and shaking out his hair when, you know, this is only supposed to be audio. The real Master Miller was murdered, and he explains that the DARPA chief never broke. Ocelot accidentally killed him during torture. As such, the plan was to trick Snake into activating the failsafe, which activates the warhead if it isn't already armed, because it is a ridiculously stupid system. That's why Octopus impersonated the chief. That's why there are no guards around the place that should have the most security. That's why the DARPA chief claimed to have lost his code because of Psycho Mantis' telepathy, and yet the Armstech president didn't. And that's why Snake still had the failsafe key in his belongings when he escaped. So, big whoopsie on our part, though admittedly there were like 50 different ways this plan could have gone sideways, dude. Especially since that makes me wonder why you put the dead DARPA chief in the same cell as Snake. What if he figured it out from looking at the corpse? Plus, you know, you left all your secret trap doors and auto turrets turned on and chased me up and down a communications tower and shot at me with a helicopter and a sniper and a dude with a... Well, I was gonna call it a minigun, but like, nothing mini about that thing. Sure, some of this was them hoping to get the information out of Snake through torture or subterfuge, but still, Liquid plans to kill us by sealing the control room and gassing us. But Otacon is able to get the doors open, and we confront him outside the cockpit of Metal Gear Rex. Liquid reveals that the Pentagon was using us from the start. Sure, they wanted to stop the launch, but they were the ones who ordered Snake to be infected with Fox Die. That way, it'd wipe out Foxhound, their troops, and everyone else. Allow them to retrieve Rex without any witnesses to all this. Naomi wasn't working with the terrorists, but she did modify the Fox Die in some way, and they suspect that she's been arrested to find out how. Liquid is convinced that there's a vaccine for Fox Die, and they can use it to spare him and his men. Though he suspects that since Snake, Liquid, and Ocelot haven't died from the virus yet, then maybe they're all immune somehow. What's more, Liquid reveals that he and Snake were born from the same genetic material. They are brothers.
You got all the old man's dominant genes. I got the flawed recessive genes.
Of course! Don't you know anything about science? That is not how genetics work, Liquid. But sure, let's roll with that. He has complicated feelings about Big Boss, whom he also considered his father. But apparently Snake was the favorite son, and Big Boss let him know that. So this entire game could have been prevented if there had only been some decent parenting. Anyway, he leaps into Rex, and it's time for the final boss fight. And it's a doozy, and incredibly frustrating, especially if this is your first time playing. The walkthrough I consulted called it easy. And I call bullcrap on that. Rex has 3 primary methods of attack. A laser that slices across the ground if you get too close, bullets if you're outside of the laser range, and missiles that home in on you if you're farther away. They cannot be easily dodged unless you're running right at Rex or get lucky, but I'd say it's still a crapshoot since I got hit by them plenty while running towards it. I spent hours on this final boss fight. It has 3 stages to it. Technically 4, but we'll talk about that later. And the first 2 are the worst. The goal in the first stage is to fire Stinger missiles into its shoulder. Now, I already reported the problems I had aiming the Stinger during the helicopter fight, and I eventually got better at adjusting to using it, but it was still a pain that kept impeding me as I tried to change my muscle memory. Not helped by Rex's weapons kicking my ass and making me lose my aim. And I know what some of you are saying right now. Why didn't you use the chaff grenades, Linkara? They disrupt the sensors on the missiles so they won't target you. Funny story! I don't know if the problem is that there's a bug in the PC port or just that I'm not using them correctly, but I kept trying to use the chaff grenades and they didn't work. I still got missiles shoved up my ass while the chaff was in the air. If I was lucky, I might get a shot off right before all the other weapons hit me and wiped out my health. Yes, even with the body armor equipped, my health got ripped through. And oh yes, the rations. I entered the fight with full rations. 5 is the maximum you can hold. But because my health had been extended throughout the game, a ration does not fully heal me anymore. There are 2 extra rations in the room with you, assuming you can get them, but since the rations don't fully restore health, I couldn't rely on tanking through the fight by just standing in place and firing. Now, it was a viable strategy and allowed me to get to stage 2 a few times, but stage 2 has all the same weapons as before, meaning I have no health to keep tanking to try to finish it off there. This leads me to a complaint that has been bothering me throughout the entire game. It is not in any way game breaking, but it's annoying for me nonetheless. The inventory system. There are 2 inventories, items and weapons, defaulted to A and S on the keyboard respectively. You hold down the key, then cycle through them. But for some stupid reason, the arrow keys are somehow counterintuitive to how they should be. I'd always go in the wrong direction to what I was trying to go through. And when I did finally learn the strategy to beat Rex, I was trying to move very quickly to keep the speed and pace of the fight. But since I kept going in the wrong direction, I'd accidentally select the wrong weapon. Sure, I can immediately recognize the mistake and fix it, but it's still frustrating when you're really tense and focusing on the battle. Oh, and because of the 2 inventory screens, I'd frequently press the wrong damn inventory and be confused for a second in the heat of battle. And hey, the game pauses while you're in the inventory, thank God. But again, it's just annoying when I'm trying to move quickly, establish a pattern, but I keep hitting the wrong damn inventory and have to readjust myself. Especially when the 2 keys are right next to each other. What's wrong with just having a single inventory that you just cycle between 2 screens for weapon and item selection, just like in the first Metal Gear? I eventually took my frustration to Blue Sky to vent about all this. While some echoed their own frustrations with this fight whenever they went back to it, user Steve Kidd did eventually point me in the direction of some videos that helped. It was not an immediate success, especially since I discovered that the 4th attack by Rex, where he stomps down on me if I get too close, was in fact an instant kill move. I didn't know that because the stomps it had done before, even while seemingly right on top of me, never seemed to do any damage, just knock me over. Still, I wasn't really having much success in any of my other attempts, so it was worth a shot to try. The idea is simple. There's a narrow range in front of Rex where it will only fire the laser at you. However, you can evade the laser by moving away from Rex. But if you move too far away, it'll shoot bullets at you, so you need to stay in the narrow range. So the idea is you move into that range, quickly aim and fire a stinger, then run away right before the laser hits. Rinse and repeat. The problem I was running into here was twofold. One, it was very easy to run out of that narrow range and get shot at with bullets. But hey, I got better at it over time. The second part, though, was all on me. For some reason, despite knowing I had to run away from Rex to evade the laser, I kept going forward towards him, and despite in actual physics that laser should be missing me, somehow it was still striking my hitbox, so I was getting lasered and I'd have to find my position again as Rex was readjusting its own. The good news is that eventually, with repetition, I got pretty good at the pattern and I could reliably enter Stage 2, not even necessarily losing a ration. However, that enters into the Stage 2 issues. Now, Stage 2 is very similar to Stage 1. Rex basically is the same for the most part. So that first video said you could just repeat the process. Move into laser range, shoot Stinger, run away, repeat. Thing is though, in Stage 2, we're no longer shooting the shoulder. We're aiming for the now opened cockpit of Rex. Rex's cockpit opens like a big jaw. The lower part of the jaw falls down and consequently blocks the part where I'm supposed to shoot. And for some reason, I can't aim the Stinger up any higher to try to shoot the area next to the jaw and try to do some splash damage. This is not helped by another annoying part of the control scheme here. In Stage 1, I'm just moving forward and back. In Stage 2, because there's a whole ass cutscene between the stages, Rex's angle is shifted so he's facing a 45-degree angle instead of just up and down. Meaning, to move back and forth out of the laser margin, I have a harder time getting Snake to move at that angle consistently. Meaning I'll get hit by a laser, or I can't get in a decent shot at the cockpit. I'm pretty sure I died some more times here, but I forgot to hit record, so I'm gonna add 3 more to the counter. I did have a decent strategy near the end. In Stage 2, if you can avoid being seen by Rex for a bit, it will lose you completely and have to look around in every corner for you, giving you some breathing room to run around, restock on a few supplies, etc. You can also shoot at them, which I tried to do, and then quickly hide in an area of the map where you can't really see me, and depending on its angle, it'll block missiles. This worked for a little bit, but eventually it was at the right angle to kill me. Turns out I was onto something though, and the second video sent to me explained the strategy. We're cheesing it, provided we're not stomped into cheese. As said, if Rex loses sight of you, it needs to go and search for you. All you have to do is get behind Rex for a little bit, it goes to search, and then you can actually have the missile lock come in while right underneath Rex. Mind you, if you're not running in the right spot, you might get smushed. But hey, you get there eventually. So let's talk that cutscene between Stages 1 and 2. Rex takes some serious damage, but it's still stable enough to try to come forward and stomp us. Fortunately, Gray Fox comes in to save the day, strong enough to actually hold back Rex's foot. He tells us to run, in the process revealing that he was Deep Throat. I still say it was Jimmy James.
Well, then I challenge the real Deep Throat to come forward. Shit, I didn't think so.
Fox shoots the thing some more, and we hide behind some boxes. Snake finally asking what the hell Fox wants out of all this. Fox wants Snake to kill him, free him from his endless torment of death and resurrection. Snake wants Fox to get Naomi off her revenge kick, but Fox says he can't. He was the one who originally killed her parents when he was young, but couldn't bring himself to kill her, and wow, this is a lot we're dumping out during the final battle. He asks Snake to be the one to tell her the truth. Fox, I don't want to be involved in your family drama. I don't know if you've noticed, but I'm kind of having a spat with my own brother right now. Fox leaps out to try to disable Rex, but he just gets his arm cut off and then pinned against a wall. He manages to damage it some more with his gun arm, opening up Rex's cockpit. We're given back control, except not really. Fox wants us to shoot the missile, kill him, and destroy it while it's got him, but all Snake can yell is, "I can't!" every time I try to shoot. And then Liquid kills him, and we enter Stage 2. I should note that this part where we're just standing there with our thumb up our ass yelling, "I can't!" is unskippable, so every time I beat Stage 1, I had to sit for a bit for this to play out before we moved on to the next bit. So since I've defeated Stages 1 and 2, time for the final stage, right? Well, yes and no. See, before we get that, we get a cutscene. A long-ass cutscene which has a lot. Despite the massive explosions around Rex as it goes down, Liquid somehow still survives and drags her unconscious body to the top of the thing. He says that he's gonna keep fighting for a world where warriors like them are honored as they should be. Which, like, dude, your group is made up of Black Ops mercenaries, one of whom just admitted to assassinating a girl's parents and was apparently supposed to kill her too, and putting her on a revenge path that ultimately led to Fox dying all here. You are not the good guys! Oh, but we were so valued during the Cold War! Yeah, because evil men were telling you to do evil things! Did some of the things you did help people? Possibly. I don't know. But you still chose to do it. You're just like Meryl idolizing some perceived notion of what being a soldier is like, but you've bought into your own hype while she realized, wow, this is actually kind of messed up.
After I launch this weapon and get $1 billion, we'll be able to bring chaos and honor back to this world gone soft.
Are you crazy? Is that your problem?
Yeah, dude is saying that he'll be a hero by bringing more war into the world, and he'll slowly take it over. And I'd like to remind you that his plan to launch the nuke is kind of sitting underneath us right now as a pile of scrap metal, and I don't think Amazon Prime is going to deliver a new one in time. He says Snake is just like him and wants a world where warriors obey orders and fight and kill. Snake denying it, of course.
So why are you here then?
Liquid! You and your Sephiroth-looking ass really need to understand that nuclear weapons are bad. They are very, very bad and do very, very bad things to innocent people, and maybe, just maybe, someone would take exception to a lunatic like you firing one.
You enjoy all the killing.
Not all the killing, but I'll definitely enjoy taking you down. That is also a bold statement to make when this is a stealth game where often the best strategy is not to kill people. He says we clearly enjoyed killing all his men.
I watched your face when you did it. It was filled with the joy of battle.
Sure, Pookie. And here's where we get the big revelation that would reshape the rest of the series. Now, we already knew there was some genetic manipulation behind Liquid and Solid's births, but here it's revealed that the two are, in fact, clones of Big Boss. They used Super Baby Method, which sounds like something out of a Baby Geniuses movie, but is really them fertilizing an egg with one of Big Boss's cells, and it's split into 8 clone babies. Supposedly, they terminated all but 2 of them, Liquid and Solid. The other 6 were apparently killed to encourage fetal growth.
The other 6 of our brothers were sacrificed to make us.
Why? Did they show it happening on a monitor and said out loud, if you don't excel, this is what's gonna happen to you?
We were accomplices in murder before the day we were even born.
I am apparently pro-life, which is why I stole a nuclear weapon and planned to use it. He talks about the recessive genes crap again.
You took everything from me before I was even born.
Is this the human condition of madness, leader? It is.
He starts rambling about the Human Genome Project and how from that they were able to isolate the soldier genes, aka the specific genes that are best for various aspects of combat, warfare, etc., and injected them into the Foxhound soldiers. It is incredible that you are somehow rivaling the Ring novels for their misunderstandings of genetics, and that franchise said that VHS tapes can rewrite DNA! All throughout this, Snake just keeps repeating whatever Liquid is saying, and it sounds less like he's processing all this, and more that he has a concussion and doesn't know what's going on. And here's where we really have to question the bull crap. I called it out with including conspiracy theories about AIDS and Youngblood, and I call it out here. Liquid claims that Gulf War syndrome, the various chronic health issues that affected various soldiers during the first Gulf War, were actually a result of human experimentation by the military injecting them with the soldier gene crap. No. Real people facing real health issues are not a toy for you in your video game about nanomachines, clone soldiers, psychic powers, and nuke-shooting mech suits. No! Bad! The Cold War backdrop is one thing. Having real-world events happening and affecting plot elements is one thing. Saying that suffering that actual people are going through is a result of your stupid sci-fi nonsense, especially when it doesn't even matter for the plot, it's just thrown in there arbitrarily, that's offensive and disrespectful on so many levels. I spent hours trying to beat the goddamn Metal Gear, and my reward is being given a 10-minute lecture by a crazy man about weird genetics conspiracy theorist bullcrap. Can I just punch him now, please?
Have you ever heard of the asymmetry theory?
Shut up! Basically, the gene soldier thing is imperfect, and everyone who has them, including Liquid and Solid, are dying as a result of this, and he wanted Big Boss's remains to study the DNA and try to cure them.
All living things are born for the sole purpose of passing on their parents' genes.
Hideo Kojima, I will never forgive you for not letting me get up and punch this guy sooner. He's dragged Meryl out here too at some point and set her down near us. He also reveals that the Pentagon is aware that Metal Gear has been destroyed and has made a decision on how to proceed. Liquid encouraging us to contact Campbell. Campbell reports that the Secretary of Defense has taken over and, worried about what Naomi did to Foxdie, is concerned that word of this mess is gonna leak out. As such, he's dispatching bombers and planes to blow this place to hell with tactical nukes and bunker busters to pierce down in and wipe out all the evidence.
I'm the government, I'm the government, I'm the reason nothing works.
What's more, Meryl was sent to the base before the terrorist attack as a way of manipulating Campbell, since Foxhound was already undergoing a secret investigation and, well, Campbell was originally part of it. Campbell says he'll try to buy Snake some time, stop the bombing, and hopefully let Snake and Meryl escape.
It's the least I can do for you, after all the lies.
Really? You mean government agents actually have feelings?
However, the Secretary of Defense himself comes in to gloat and be an asshole about the whole thing, also admitting the president isn't aware of any of this going on. So even with all that done with, Liquid is still after revenge against Snake for the crime of other people giving him better genetics or something, and has planted a bomb next to Meryl. It gives us 3 minutes for us to fight or this whole place goes. Thus we finally get to stage 3 of the final boss battle. Fisticuffs with Liquid, no rations or any other weapons or equipment. And thankfully, even if we die during this fight, it does not send us back to stage 1, and we do not need to hear any of that nonsense again before we fight. This is also considerably easier than the previous 2 stages. Liquid does more damage to you, but he attacks less frequently, and you can plan around his strikes and figure out his patterns. Sure, it's not perfect, and the time limit makes it so you're more inclined to try to rush, and consequently lose time if you fall over the edge, but it's a fair challenge, and you don't have to figure out a narrow corridor to shoot a missile. I mean, I still died a lot, I'm just saying I didn't feel nearly as frustrated as I did during the Rex fight. Oh, yeah, that one. I realized during one fight that I wasn't going to win, so I figured to save time, I'd just load my last save, which was actually back in the Rex fight, so I died from getting stomped on in stage 2. But another attempt, I got through it pretty quickly and just skipped all the cutscenes to get back to the final fight. Anyway, I have had enough of you! Man, I wish we could have thrown him into the foundry so I could have said, well, he's definitely Liquid now. Meryl's alive. Yeah, it's possible for her to be dead depending on what happens during the torture sequences. And unfortunately, we're still not done yet. Otacon calls and tells us the way out is via the loading tunnel next to the parking garage near the hangar. We get some heartfelt words between the two as Snake gets his gear and we make our escape. Unfortunately, we have to deal with a lot of guards along the way while the place starts being bombed. Meryl has to hotwire a Jeep as a 10-minute timer starts up. While she drives, we have a turret section to end things, one where we can get shot and killed. Fortunately, I survived the soldiers with a little help, mostly thanks to explosive barrels. Unfortunately...
Not yet, Snake!
You're still alive? I'm beginning to have doubts about the whole I suck because I have recessive genes thing. And yeah, he kills me. Thrice. This is technically stage 4 of the final boss fight. Why do we need this? Yes, exciting escape and all, but this is just annoying after everything we've already had to go through. But yeah, during the final chase, it's best to switch to first-person view when firing the turret at Liquid. He dodges around a lot, and it can be hard to hit him otherwise. Let's sum up because this review has gone on way longer than it was supposed to. We fly out of there, but crash into Liquid's car and roll over. We survive, but are pinned down under the Jeep. Liquid, of course, comes out to kill us, but then Foxdie suddenly kicks in and takes him out. Campbell calls up to inform us that the Secretary of Defense has been arrested and the air raid stopped. He was able to contact the president and tell him what was happening. Campbell and Snake make up, and he informs us of a nearby snowmobile we can use to get the hell out of there, with Campbell saying they'll give a cover story that the two died escaping the place so the government won't go looking for them. What's more, Naomi is told that Gray Fox loved him and wants her to move on with her life. And so our game ends, and we get a final narration from Naomi that makes it clear that the tampering she did to Foxdie was to keep Snake from being affected by it. Our fates are woven into our genes, or some bullcrap, and also some sequel baiting from Revolver Ocelot that makes it clear that there was a third clone of Big Boss, who is now the president, and goes by Solidus Snake, which is apparently a real term, but it still sounds silly. Despite any misgivings and criticisms I can lob against it, Metal Gear Solid remains a very good game with strong characterization and memorable moments. There were quite a few people disparaging that I was playing this version and not the Twin Snakes, but honestly, I feel like this just proves that the original base game is still pretty damn good. Even my complaints about some of the key controls could just be changed by, changing the key bindings if they were that much of an issue. The gameplay remains solid, and while the amount of stealth sections decreased significantly in the latter half of the game, it still remains a stealth game through and through. Hell, you can argue that Stage 2 of the Rex fight, where I have to get behind it and out of sight, is an extension of that. While I had plenty of groans, anger, and frustration by the ending rambles of Liquid, the overall story of Metal Gear Solid is great, helping elevate the material from much simpler games into part of a grand narrative, showing the consequences for the actions taken in those games still mattering even if it was just a weird little 8-bit game that was focused on hiding and sneaking around rather than platforming or shooting like everything else was at the time. In fact, what really struck me about Metal Gear Solid, especially as someone who had never played any of the games before but watched others playing them, was how all of it feels like a translation of the elements of the 8-bit games into 3D. Crawling under stuff, the inventory selection of only a weapon and an item at a time, the rations being cans of tuna or whatever, calling in on the radio to learn new information or advance the story, boss fights in weird arenas that involve tons of strategy versus just shooting at a weak point and hoping for the best, crawling around the ground to pick up mines, needing to have body armor equipped, advancing key cards and our own stats as the game goes along. It's pretty damn impressive how it extended the ideas that were already there, just added more overt political themes and dialogue. People have argued that clearly Kojima really just wants to make movies instead of games, but part of the reason this all works so well is because it's an interactive medium, that we're with Snake during all this intrigue, and we're the ones who got him through all this to save the day. Whether or not that makes him a hero is someone else's essay to write. I'm just here to say the game is good. Just wish I hadn't kept you all waiting with how long it took to release the video. Next time, though, should be a lot easier for us to get out, though, because our Patreon-sponsored extravaganza will continue with Transformers the Movie.
So there's something you like about me, huh?
Yeah, you've got a great butt.
Sir, what if the real Deep Throat is not here?
Yes, he is. Boom. Next question.
Hello, my friends. Please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and click the bell for notifications on new video releases. If you'd like to support future videos, you can check out my Patreon, buy merch from the store and link in the description, or check out the t-shirts available from Teespring. Thanks for watching.